Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob, and you're watching our latest LEGO Masters build breakdown.
But before we start, let's dive into a recap of what we built this week on LEGO Masters Season 4. Introducing the Fin-Tastic Flamin Sharkatron. It's the car with over 10,000 shark power, which you can play today in LEGO 2K Drive. The Sharkatron is outfitted with rocket missiles, blazing fire bursting alongside the engine gills, and sharp gum teeth ready to devour the competition. This Sharkatron was built from the combination of two existing vehicles, the blue hot rod and the black graveboat, being combined to create something entirely new. It is our LEGO Masters Season 4 Episode 8 winning build.
Yeah, so I will say, out of all the builds, previous episodes, almost every build, there was always some drama, some stress involved where we're like, why are we stressing again? Like, even in the bag episode, last episode, we thought that we were doing great, and then we picked it up and it fell apart. I will say that this was probably the most chill episode that we've had.
Even the only thing is when we were driving it around, the jaw popped off, but only after we hit like a bump the size of my leg at top speed.
Yeah.
But no, this one was a really fun episode and really interesting because I feel like this one played to both of our strengths.
Like, the concept was also very interesting because unlike...
It was your idea for the shark... Oh, you're talking about the concept of the challenge. Yes. So, let's start with that to explain to the viewers in case they aren't aware.
Exactly. So, like, the concept for the challenge itself is all really unique because, like, for all the previous challenges, you know, we had the entire brick pit to our disposal.
Yeah.
Really, we were unconstrained with resources. But this time, really... You know, they displayed a set of these LEGO vehicles in front of us, and we had to go run up and get them. Our team was last to choose the vehicles, so we really didn't choose the vehicles. They're like, oh, what are you guys gonna pick? I wonder what. But, you know, I actually think that the vehicles we ended up with were not bad colors.
Oh, the color scheme was... From the start, I wanted the blue hot rod.
Yeah.
Right? We wanted the blue.
Yes.
The black, the secondary color, give or take. But the blue, we really wanted the blue. And somehow we got really lucky and actually got the one we wanted. Now, of course, we had to complain about being chosen last and wanting reparations and all that and say, oh, the other teams have the advantage. But I mean, we were pretty happy with what we got, I think.
I think the colors really work great because you've got like this bright blue and then you have a ton of black. And actually, the piece selection that we got was also pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Like, I know a couple of teams had like just all very brick-built kind of stuff, which is, you know, hard to work with if you want something like small and detailed. Mm-hmm. But I think we had a good mixture of bricks and plates and slopes and snot pieces that really allowed us to get pretty creative. And the color was great too. I think the first thing I saw when I saw blue and black was shark.
Do you have any ideas?
Shark?
Let's open it up first.
Yeah. I was thinking something else dumb. What was I thinking? I had some like dumb idea. Your idea was so much better. What was I even thinking?
I don't
remember. I think I was like, oh, you could do like a blue rocket. I don't know what I was thinking at all. I think I was like thinking a rocket, like just do a rocket.
Oh, maybe.
That would have been so stupid. Like, yeah, the shark was so much better. I think the only thing I was worried about was I didn't know if we could pull it off.
Yeah. I think that, like, one huge part of this challenge that was really tough was piece constraint. Yeah. Like, every single piece mattered. Like, sometimes when we put filler bricks inside, like, we don't care what color it is, right? Whatever. But here we're like, okay, we gotta actually look at the colors that are the least important. Like, maybe there was some, I remember there was some green or some kind of teal pieces that were like, oh, we're not gonna use that on the outside of the shark. So we just stuck them inside. And we had to really go piece by piece by piece.
We used every single blue brick.
I think we did.
Literally every single one that they had.
I am physically out of blue.
So obviously, if you've seen the episode and you just saw the recap of our build, we were under a lot of constraints. For one, there were no white pieces. Like, there was not a single white element in the entire mashup. So we couldn't do white teeth. We had to kind of do the pink gums. Yeah. We had a lot of pink. We had a lot of blue, but after using it, not a lot of blue. Yeah. We had a lot of black.
Ton of black.
And that was really it. Yeah. Like, those are the only colors we had to work with. But I think the thing is, this actually played to our strengths as builders, because if you watched Duck Bricks before, you know that personally I'm not a mockist. Like I build mostly sets. However, if I ever want to build mocks, I don't have sorted pieces. Like I just have random buckets and bins of just random parts that are not sorted whatsoever. And so what we had to do was essentially just take like random pieces and use them to create our own build.
Yeah.
Which is, if I'm building a custom creation, that's my wheelhouse. Like that's what I always have to do because I don't have my pieces sorted. I'm actually still looking to pay somebody to sort my pieces. If you're in the Seattle area and are looking to have a part-time job of sorting Lego pieces, let me know. Please, seriously, I'm actually dead serious about that. But no, my pieces are not sorted. So while other teams, I think they were maybe a little bit taken aback by not having access to the brick pit and having a very limited number of parts, this played to our strengths because sometimes with the brick pit, there are too many options where there's so many bricks, there are thousands of ideas, and they're not really like, you have to like pull a certain number of pieces before coming back. And it's really like difficult.
I
Like
think,
in here,
because I think one of the biggest drivers of our stress is that like when we think brick pit, we think infinity, and then when we think infinity, we think let's build a chair, right? So like this was something where we did not have that option, and so our brains had to basically default to, okay, let's make this detailed and nice, and like really be smart about what we're doing. Yeah.
So we made the Sharkatron, and I think throughout the whole build process, the way that we split it up, where every single build, what we do as, I mean, in our personal lives, we are product managers at Microsoft, so what we do a lot in our own jobs is like scoping out timeframes and figuring out what teams should be working on costing which efforts. And this was just kind of a mini version of that, where instead of months and weeks of a sprint, this is hour by hour.
Right.
And what we quickly realized was that we weren't going to make much progress unless the pieces were sorted in the first, I think we took 2 hours out of the 8 we had.
No. I think we took about 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. We set a very firm time limit, and I was like,
I remember we set 45. Maybe 1 hour? I think it was 1 hour. Maybe less.
I think it was less.
Okay, maybe.
I think it was less. We like, and I remember you were very strict about enforcing because I.
Oh yeah, I was very tight. Maybe that's why in my mind it was longer because I was worried it was getting longer.
Yes. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, let's sort everything, but I think that like we kind of did 80-20 rule where like we sorted most of the stuff out within 45 minutes and started building. But I think having that sorted and understanding which piece we have the most of, which pieces we have the least of, gave us an extremely good idea of like what things we can do.
Yeah.
Right. If we were going into this blind, like there's no way we could have done it correctly.
Oh yeah. So yeah, once we had it all sorted, I remember I was like, dude, we need to be done. What I said was we need to be done sorting in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it went to 45 and I was stressing out. I was like, dude,
I was like,
finish.
I was more on the side of let's sort more and
I was like, no, let's just chop, let's go.
But I think we found a good middle ground.
Yeah, I think so too. It was good that we sorted it. We definitely needed to. But once we had everything sorted, then the challenge came with, okay, if we want to do a shark that has quite unique angles to it, where you have a jaw that's open down the bottom, a jaw on the top, that's kind of a triangular shaped jaw, and then you also have the sides of the vehicle, which are not just straight up and down. We wanted it to be kind of trapezoidal.
Right.
And working with the limitations of pieces was really hard, because I remember that I started off by making the trapezoidal base really strong, because we knew we had to actually race these, so I wanted it to be really robust. And I made it super robust, but I think I ate up like 90% of all of our Technic pieces, maybe like all of the Technic stuff, just on the frame. And so I was like, well, okay, how on earth are we going to attach the jaw now?
Right.
And what we had to do was come up with kind of a combination of Bionicle ball joints to attach the jaw. If it were up to me and we had unlimited pieces, I would just do a ton of mixel joints, ball joints, and Technic attachments, and that would never come off.
Right.
But all we had were 4 ball and socket combos. Yeah. So literally those were the, like, with the parts we had available, there was 4 ball elements and 4 socket elements, and that was it. So we were forced to do 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom and come up with some other way to keep everything else intact.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how we even did it. Like, is it luck that we set up? But I think a lot of it came down to like being able to sort the pieces and knowing what we had. We were able to like mentally just map and kind of budget where we were building. But I think, I mean, this episode I think was great. I think, I focus more on the fins, the sides, the top, the back fin. And then you focus on, the really
jaw.
nice detailed stuff that you're always really good at. like the jaw and the body. And it worked out really well. And actually, what's interesting is, like, we were given, what, 8 hours, 10 hours? Like, this was
I think it was like 8 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge challenge, like a very long challenge, but at the same time,
but we were done, I think, like 4 or 5 hours in.
I think, yeah, exactly. Like, we were pretty much done 4 or 5 hours
Maybe,
in.
and then we had basically half the time to polish. And that's what really shocked, because we were able to add these like gill designs on the side using hoses and flames for the engines. We were able to add missiles on the side.
Right, we added a cockpit.
A cockpit, yeah. There's like even like a little like glass element on the top of it that kind of just showcases like, oh, you can like look inside and see it. And you were able to, I mean, Robert was able to really just keep on re-optimizing the fin. And what was super cool is that we made the back fin detachable. Like you could pull it out.
Yes.
Why did we do that again? Oh, to turn it on.
To turn on the battery.
In order to, because we were given these remote control bases, but the battery was really buried in there. So they had to make the on switch accessible. But what we did is, because for our design, we wanted it to be a fully enclosed build, we actually had the entire back fin mounted on Technic pins and tiles. So you could slide out the whole back fin, snap it in, and it was really smooth.
Beautiful. And also the camera attachment.
We'll talk about that, because you were working on that for a while.
Yeah, so we needed a place to put the camera, and we're like, what better place to put the camera than inside the mouth of the shark?
Yeah.
It was like a perfect placement. There was like a little GoPro camera or something like that, and we had to put it in. But like the camera was like shaking around a little bit, and so, you know, we had to figure out a way to, you know...
And that was all you. I didn't touch the camera.
It was just like, there's some Technic, and then like, even with some Technic blocking and some on the top and the bottom, because we had to work around the lens of the camera, and GoPros don't really have that much space around it. We had to work around the lens. Even with that, like, it was shaking a little bit. We got this rail piece, and then just like clicked it in, and like, it just like, and the camera just stopped moving.
I still have no idea how he attached it, because what I was doing, I was spending all my time on the jaw. So I was making, I did the whole jaw for the upper part and the lower part, and I was detailing the side, and then he was just working on the camera attachment. And then I remember when we finished our build, I was like, dude, I have no idea how you have the camera in there. So they had to make it accessible. And I remember I was looking in the mouth. I was like, how on earth is that accessible? And Robert's like, don't worry about it. When we need to change the camera, just let me swap it out. And then he like pulls out like some like Technic contraption and like takes the camera out, puts it back, and it was like so clean. I was impressed. I was like, all right.
I was impressed with myself. It looked, it was pretty clean.
Because I couldn't even tell how you had that in so tightly.
Yeah,
I literally looked at it and I just saw like a massive Technic, and I was like, I'm not looking at that. Like,
yeah. But I think it all worked out really well. And like, we finished quite early, and like, I remember I was like on a campaign to get rid of like all the studs on the build.
Basically, like, you were on a stud hunt.
Yes, basically I was like, let's polish the crap out of this build. Like, you know, every single like sharp edge, we can like make it sloped. You know, for example, the back.
Even on the back, the back of the build, we had a trapezoidal design for the body, and then we had it curve inwards for like tapering into the back of the fin.
Exactly.
We just had extra time.
It was just polished and polished. Like the tops we tiled over. We like added, missile launchers at the front. We made the fire up from the gills like really clean. The cockpit, like you spent a really nice time cooking on the cockpit.
I remember I was working on that for a while. Just like changing
really
it around a lot to like make the shaping look
exactly.
Good. Yeah.
But like even after that, we had like an hour.
We had an hour left, and we were like happy, completely done with the build. And this is where the fun began, because we were driving it around, and like it looked so fun. Like it looked like it was swimming while driving, because it was like leaning back
tilted,
and forth.
Yeah.
But then the only like issue that we had was that, all right, we were having it go over my arm, and then as it bumped over, obviously the top jaw was only attached by 2 ball and socket. Literally all we had was a 2 ball and socket.
Yeah.
It's heavy. So the top popped off. We had to get very creative, because I looked at the pieces we had left, and we had like nothing. Like there were no Technic, no ball joints, like bricks wouldn't do it because it was at a weird angle. All we had we had a ratchet joint connector, like a Knight's Kingdom style ratchet joint. No actual ratchet though. Just the joint, just the socket, just the receiving piece, and we had a Technic universal joint. And that was it. So I was like, okay, I don't know. We'll come up with something. So what I did is I took the ratchet joint and literally used it only because it had a Technic hole pin connector on the side of it, where the ratchet, the click hinge didn't even matter at all. We were out of Technic bricks. If we had Technic bricks, we wouldn't have even needed to use it, but we were getting desperate, so I took the ratchet joint, used it like a Technic brick just to take advantage of the connection in its side. We didn't even have friction pins.
Yeah.
We had frictionless pins, which are looser than friction pins, but you gotta work with what you have. So I got the universal joint, attached the frictionless Technic pins into it, clicked it on, and then we had this like random Technic pin sticking out of the side. So then we used just the final few minutes just adding missiles to the side, because we were like, okay, how do we make it even more like kind of aggressive looking? All right, let's add missiles on the side because we have these Technic things anyways. But that was it. Like that was a quick fix, and the jaw like stayed on until we like started
until like you did
them.
like huge like unless
Well, that's
until
a
there
whole
was
other
large
story.
trauma. Yes, but like that was like quite a chill build. There weren't really any big bumps that we encountered. I think we just sorted the pieces well, and just like step by step built it up. In fact, I think the last minute you were cooking up some last polishing details. I literally didn't have anything else to do.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
yeah, you literally were just sitting around. Yeah.
And so I was like, you know, what would be a bigger flex is if we ended with all the pieces sorted, like all the remaining pieces we had left on the table. What if we sorted them all and put them in the containers, like all
perfectly.
And so I spent the last 40 minutes
just sorting. We didn't need to, just because like it was just a flex.
Yes.
Literally just a flex that we had enough time.
You know, like the previous challenge, we were down to literally the last stack and just like clonking the final piece in. But this one, I think like the last 5 minutes, both of us were pretty much just sitting there.
We were walking around. We were looking at other people's builds. I like helped Emily and Kelly find a piece.
Yeah.
They were they were looking for like a mixel joint. I was like, man, I wish we had the mixel joints. All right, here it is. Like, we were just like sitting around.
It's like like nice shark here. The pieces all sorted here, and we're like,
it was clean. It was the cleanest sort. I think they were shocked because we always finished with the messiest workspaces. I think someone made a comment that like throughout all 4 seasons of LEGO Masters, they had never seen a messier workspace after build. We got better at it over time.
We got better. In the beginning,
we were quite bad.
Yeah.
But then this one, I think they came over and they were like, what happened here? Where we literally like arranged each piece like perfectly. It could have been like an ASMR video like on YouTube, where it's like line up each piece perfectly sorted, like on our table, fully spread out, and then the shark card just right in the center, just
so
clean. So that was, I think, the least stressful build was this one.
I think so.
As we were stressing on all the other ones. So this one we were kind of chilling. The race was a lot of fun.
The race was
oh my goodness. Well, so initially you were gonna drive because I didn't trust myself to drive, so I wanted him to drive.
So like in episode 1, I drove the boat, and I think I drove the boat all right.
Pretty well, yeah.
The controller they gave us is like it has a learning curve because
and it was the same controller.
It was the exact same controller. It's basically just like you have a trigger here, which is go. And then you can turn this like wheel left and right. But like it's kind of unintuitive because like the trigger, like you would turn a wheel forward to go right and backwards to go left, and then the trigger like here. So like it was kind of unintuitive to use, but you got used to it.
You got used to it.
I think Chris was a little skeptical that he'd be able to do it.
Yeah, I just didn't think it because he already had experience with the controller.
Right.
So I was like, Robert, you should drive it. I don't. And throughout the whole episode, I was saying Robert's gonna drive.
Yeah, and so that was it. Like throughout the episode, I was test driving it. Chris was laying his arms out. Yeah. But then I drove it around, and I kept just bumping into shit, like it was bumping into chairs, bumping into the couches, and then I
just like in real life.
Yeah, exactly, just like in real life. I am an excellent driver.
Oh yeah. Never get in a car with this man.
I gave it to Chris, and then Chris drove it like a freaking master. Literally the first time, no collisions. He was able to go around corners so easily.
Like I was weaving through chair legs.
Oh yeah, like you were doing so well. And so I was like, within like 2 seconds, like, okay, you're driving.
So apparently I was driving, and maybe they regretted that because we had pole position because the Brickmasters had decided ours looked the best. But what I did is we were here, and Sam and Nina's car was here, and everyone else was kind of angled. Yeah. And the very first thing I did when they said go is I turned the wheel and I used the car to block the road. So then I caused a pileup where everyone smashed into each other at the start, and I just backed up and then swerved around. I think we lapped everyone twice.
Yeah.
And then I was driving pretty carefully, like I was playing it very safe. And after we lapped everyone twice, I like kind of look over down at Rome and I'm like, is it go time? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay.
Now it's time to go aggro mode.
And I started just ramming into everyone else's build. Surprisingly, the jaw and everything stayed intact.
Yeah.
Where we were hitting other builds, we were smashing into other people, and it was fine. The only time when everything fell off was when I was going a little too fast around a corner, and they had like this spike, like they had a canyon wall built up. And so I hit the wall, and we flipped over, and when we flipped upside down, the jaw fell off.
Everything fell
and the
off.
tail fell off. And then Robert, yeah, bruh, like I was looking at Robert, and Robert was like scrambling to write it up, and I was like, snap the jaw back on. But you didn't. You literally like left the jaw in the middle of the road. He's like, go, go, go. And I was like, put the jaw on. And Robert was just like, go, go, go. So anyways,
Hey,
we started
look, we were in the lead. I didn't want to lose that lead, with or without a jaw. You know, our car.
It's 2 ball joints.
Yes, still, our car was in the lead. A decapitated shark is better than a shark in second place.
All right, I'll give you that.
We went forward.
So I was like, all right, we're doing it. So I just hit the gas. We had no head, no tail, just the body. I don't even think we had the top fin because it was upside down, so that fell off. So we were just going around in circles, and then without risk of anything else breaking, because I mean, everything important already broke off, then I could start being very aggressive and ramming at full speed, just like how I drive in real life.
Yes. Chris drives so fast, I get nauseous.
So we were racing around, and by the end of it, I don't think it was a Sharkatron. I think it was just a Tron. Like there's nothing resembling a shark that was left. It was just a rectangle.
Hey, you know, it was more than 50% of the mass of the vehicle by weight.
That's by weight. By weight.
Because that center part was where all
Not by
the
mass.
structure and support was.
Yes, and that stayed together.
But, that did stay together. And yeah, I mean, overall, this was such a fun challenge.
I think I would go on to say that this is probably the most fun that I had on the show so far. Up to this point, this was the most fun.
I think so.
And even beyond. I mean, obviously, you know we made it to the next episode. So what I will say is that this was the most fun I had on the show.
Yeah.
I think we were kind of chilling the whole way through. Working with limitations forced us to be more creative and also forced us to pare down our idea and concept. And I can't wait to actually have this be playable in-game. We have a few videos coming out of building this minifigure scale in the game itself and driving that around, doing some races there.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. Do you have anything else to say about the car?
Yeah, I mean, I also think that this is probably one of my favorite builds so far. I will say that, given that it was so chill, I almost have this toxic mindset where I'm like, in order for me to like love something, I feel like I have to put like tears and sadness into it. And so like I would still rank like, I don't know, like I might.
I swear to God, if you put the chair over this, nah, I'm leaving. Like, bruh.
I would definitely rank the bag over this. Like,
okay, the bag, yeah.
Head and shoulders, the bag. Like we had some stress and it was beautiful, amazing.
Yeah.
The chair, I will rank the experience as equivalent to this.
For very different reasons.
For very different reasons. Yes.
Yeah.
But very happy with this so far.
Oh yeah.
And you know, this was a fun episode. I think all the other contestants had fun too. Just such a unique kind of thing to try out and working with those constraints.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. This was super fun, and we'll see you next week for the penultimate episode. Bye for now.